Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. It is May 13th. It's Friday the 13th, 2022. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. I haven't heard, nobody's emailed me this week. Maybe we've got somebody on the line who's landed. We'll then go to have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window. We'll then hear from our committee reports. We'll do workshop, job fairs, practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and then the career tip of the week. And then we will hear from our main event today, which is on Reference USA or Reference Solutions around 9:55 or 10 o'clock, something like that. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just open up the Zoom chat window. You can put your comments and questions in there. You're also that's where you'll be putting your 30-second introduction information. If you'd like to go ahead and get started doing that, you're welcome to do that now. For those watching on Facebook, good morning. If you have any questions, just put your questions into the comment field. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the leader of the group got a job and asked who wanted to take over. I think I did this. He said, okay, Jeff, you're it. So just, you know, when anybody asks for volunteers, remember, sit on your hands. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. You can get it there for 15 bucks, or if you want to come join us today for lunch, I'll have a couple with me and you can get it for $10 today at lunch. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple moments. Well, we'd like to start the meeting off with good news. Do we have anybody who's landed? If we have any landings, please unmute your mic and tell us your good news. Any landings? Going once, going twice? All right, we'll move on. Okay, if everybody will, open up the chat window and we'd like you to put in your 30-second introductions. We'd like to know, put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. I will get all this information out into an email that I'll put to everybody who's attended today. So if you will start to do that, that would be great. And then please, when you get that list this afternoon, please look it over and see, do you recognize anybody on the list? Is there anybody, any contact information? Is there anybody who you can help by giving them a lead or whatever? Please do that this afternoon and try to help somebody every day and how you can reach out to somebody. Remember, if you help other people get what they want, you will always get what you want. So let's put 30 seconds on the clock. All right, you have plenty of time. You can continue on to, you know, put your information in. We will, like I said, this is the only way I'll update the roster. So if you don't put your contact information in, I don't know you're here today and you won't get that email this afternoon for us to know what's going on. All right, it's time to hear about job career fairs, training and workshops that are going on. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you very much. As Jeff said, my name is Eldon Zarinsky, and I'm here today to give you information on the career fairs and workshops. And that information that you're about to hear today is coming from the website Career DFW, the calendar tab. It's on your screen right there, and the various colors indicate different topics of events that are going on throughout the Metroplex in the upcoming weeks and months. I go through these items fairly quickly, so if you hear something you like or you're interested in, I urge you to go to the calendar tab, click on that item, and find out more about that event. All right, this week's career and job fairs. Texas Oncology is hosting a hiring event and job fair, and it'll be at Texas Oncology at Medical City Dallas Building D. That's at 7777 Forest Lane, Suite D400 in Dallas on Saturday, May 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're looking for advanced practice providers, registered nurses, patient services, including scheduling and billing, pharmacy, telephone operators, transplant and imaging, and medical physicists. So if you're interested in that, there's information to find out more about that event. The Credit Union of Texas Job Fair will be held Tuesday, May 17th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Courtyard by Marriott Dallas and Allen at the Event Center. That's at 210 East Stacy Road in Allen. Again, Tuesday, May 17th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Dallas Engineering Technology and Security Clearance Hybrid Career Expo by Expo Experts will be held on Tuesday, May 17th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Attend virtually, in person, or both, your choice. And there's a registration link for this coming soon. There wasn't one on the calendar when I put this together yesterday, but it says it is coming soon to find out more about that event. Dallas Career Fair Live will be held Wednesday, May 18th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Crown Plaza Dallas Market Center, an IHG hotel located at 7050 North Stemmons Freeway. Again, that's 7050 North Stemmons Freeway in Dallas, and there's an information link on the calendar to find out more about that event. The Credit Union of Texas Job Fair will be held at the Courtyard by Marriott Dallas Allen at the Event Center at 210 East Stacy Road in Allen on Wednesday, May 18th from noon to 7 p.m. The Dallas Career Fair by Choice Career Fairs will be held Thursday, May 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Doubletree Hotel. That's located at 2015 Market Center Boulevard in Dallas. And there's a registration link to find out more about that event. This week's special workshops or events. Learn how to use Microsoft Excel 2016 Basic, a 5-day class. This is the last day today, Friday, May 13th from noon to 1:30 p.m. I hope you've had a chance to participate in that event. That's hosted by Jewish Family Services and taught by Philip Konecki, who's a trainer and career coach. Also online, Employability with a Background workshop will be held Monday, May 16th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Cross City Church of Euless. That's at 1000 West Airport Freeway in Euless, Texas. And there's an information link on the calendar to find out more about that. Online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, Kurt Vondemutter, or Jeff Morris each week for an online session on LinkedIn. Again, Tuesday, May 17th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. This week's speaker is Ruth Lipsky. Learn how to use Microsoft PowerPoint 2016. This is a 3-day virtual class held on Wednesday, May 18th, Thursday, May 19th, and Friday, May 20th from noon to 1:30. This course is being sponsored by Dallas Jewish Family Services and taught by Philip Konecki, who's a trainer and career coach. And there's a link to find out how to register for that event. Online interviewing, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. You can now observe a practice interview from the pit crew each Wednesday, and that's Wednesday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And I'm sure Mark will have more to say about that when he gets up next. They're online again, the Effective Resume Seminar. Join us each month on the first and third Thursdays for our Effective Revenue Seminar. This seminar will be held again Thursday, May 19th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. There is a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate, and I urge you to check the calendar for that. And finally, online, the third Friday Internet of Things Special Interest Group Breakfast will be held Friday, May 20th from 7:40 a.m. to 9 a.m. There's a link to find out about that event. Normally they'll meet in person and have breakfast, but they have been meeting virtually. If you're interested in the Internet of Things and what's going on in the DFW area, I strongly urge you to attend that. The meeting is hosted by Ed Hightower and sponsored by Object Spectrum and M&A Technology. And that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. All right. If you know anybody who's unemployed, please tell them about career.fwcareerusa.org. A lot of free services that you can find, all sorts of calendar invitations, all sorts of great documents and stuff to help somebody in their job search. So if you know somebody who's unemployed, please be sure to tell them about these two free, totally free websites. All right, it's time to hear about the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. And before I talk about the practice interview team, I'd like to talk about some spam company's got my number. And they change the number every time they call. I blocked them about 20 times. So the bane of my existence here. But I'd like to tell you my reference solution story real quick, because you're going to hear about it today, and I think it's a very powerful tool. And so I was coaching a woman who had worked at a couple of different law offices doing events and customer engagement for them. And so she'd been laid off a couple of times doing that. And so I suggested we do a search. And so we talked about why this was, why she was laid off, and how big a law firm needed to be to actually be able to afford an event person. Because if they're smaller, if they're real small, then we just hire somebody. If they're kind of medium size, they'll likely have several people do whatever event they want to do on an ad hoc basis. But when they reach a certain size, they're going to be likely to hire somebody dedicated. So we set up a search on Reference Solutions. We were looking for law firms greater than 20 people in 4 or 5 zip codes in the North Dallas area. And so out popped 12 prospects for her to go pursue. And I told her, what these people may not have an event person now, but you're going to go in and sell them that they're of a certain size and you have and your certain capability that you can make a big difference for them. So I thought that was pretty good example of how tight a search you can do for your very specific situation. So Mike and Pete will be telling you some more later on, but I wanted to share that. So now back to the pit crew. I'm on the verge of depression here, guys. In 2 weeks, the pit crew has done 3 practice interviews. That's just, it's making me depressed. So I need more candidates. Come and practice. And so here's what's going to happen and why it's going to be good for you to come and practice. So the pit crew is a group of volunteers. We've all been hiring managers. We all been through job transition, and most of us are currently in job transition. So we know what you're going through. We've been through it ourselves. I myself was laid off 3 times the last 10 years of my career. And so a very sympathetic and empathetic group to your situation. So a safe and supportive environment for you to come and practice. We also give a very personalized and customized interview experience for you. So you pick the job description that you'd like to practice against. And of course you provide your resume as well. And then let us know where you are in the process, and we'll give you a practice interview that's as realistic as possible, which means we prepare very thoroughly in advance. And I think most candidates who come to the pit crew are surprised at how well prepared the interviewers are, because we've been hiring managers. We know what it takes to make a good selection. And we'll ask you questions along those lines. And we may ask you some pretty tough questions like, why did you leave your last job? Or what are your salary requirements? Or, tell me what a bad day looks for you. And, of all these things you've listed on your resume, which are you the most effective at, and which are you the least effective at? So you get a chance to ask some very good questions that you're going to encounter in a real interview. The whole thing lasts about 45 minutes. It's recorded on Zoom. There'll be a 15 or 20-minute discussion afterwards, a debrief on the interview, how you did, how you might have done better, and that'll be recorded as well. So you need to schedule about an hour and 15 minutes for the total process. And we have set days and times. So Tuesday evenings, Wednesday afternoons at 1 o'clock, Thursday at 3 o'clock, Wednesday at 5 o'clock, Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So we have one in the evening if you're working. The interview we did this week was a Tuesday evening interview because the candidate was actually going for a promotion inside their existing company. So that's another thing we do, very customized to your situation. So when you're ready to practice, send your information to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. And please try to do that a couple of days in advance, and I'll line up 3 panelists to give you a practice session in one of those time slots. And if you weren't taking notes, or if I'm talking too fast, you can also just send me an email and I'll send you a written description of what I've just said, the days, the information we need, and how much time in advance we need it. So dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. So that's a 2-way practice interview. The Pit Crew has another option that's getting more popular, and that's a 1-way video interview. And my goal for that is to just give you a chance to become familiar with how the tool works. So I give you the questions in advance. There's only 4 of them. The tool gives you 3 minutes to answer each question. So once you're prepared, you can do the whole thing in 12 minutes and you're done. You'll get a video afterwards, and you can try again. You can try multiple times. I had one candidate who just a few weeks ago did a 1-way video interview, took a look at it, thought they could do better. The next day they did another one, and it turned out to make a difference in their candidacy, because the hiring manager, when they had their face-to-face interview, commented on how well they did on their 1-way video interview. So this is a thing. People really use it. There we go. Kevin Tye, give him credit. Thanks, Kevin. And it worked for him quite well. So just reach out to me, dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and I'll set you up for a 1-way video interview. There's my LinkedIn profile. I would like you to send me a note when you request a link in with me. Let me know that we met, to say we met at North Dallas Career Focus Group. That's really all I need. Otherwise, I'm going to ignore your request. I'm going to assume you're some multi-level marketing plan that I don't need to be a part of. So please include a note. And then finally, 2 final things. I also coach on one topic, and that one topic is how to answer the question, why did you leave your last position, or something related to that. So if you don't feel like you have a brief and confident answer to that question, then let's have a conversation and we'll storyboard your situation so you can answer that initial question and any follow-on questions that may be generated. Then you'll be well prepared to answer that question, because HR people in particular are going to be very curious why people, join new companies and leave their company. So they're going to ask you quite a bit more detail than maybe a recruiter or a hiring manager would ask you. So you want to be prepared for that, and I can help you. And then finally, I had a couple of panelists land in the last month, and so I'm always looking to add new panelists. I keep a large group of volunteers, about 30 available, so every week I can have as many as I need. Sometimes I need up to 12 panelists in a week. So because there's so many, it's not a big time commitment, and it doesn't matter what industry you worked in. You just need to have a heart for helping others and have been a hiring manager. That's a prerequisite. Reach out to me if that's something of interest to you. You'll get a lot out of it. You'll be a better interviewer because of helping others. So let me know if you'd like to join up. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Mark. All right, it's time to hear about the Interview Success Workshop. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday the 13th. Only 2 more days till Monday. What do I do? Well, I like to help people with interview success as well. So when I retired, I was looking around and see, what was I going to do now? And using some experiences where I really flunked an interview back in 2000, and I thought I knew everything. I mean, I was hiring people. I taught people how to hire. I taught behavioral event interviewing and star stories and all that sort of thing. And then I sat on the other side of the desk, and it was a quite a bit different world and quite a shocking. So I woke up and said, I better figure out how to interview. I saw about the Pit Crew, thought that was fantastic, great, still think it's great, heartily support that and recommend that. But at the same time, I said, I'm a kind of down in the weeds guy. I really want to know what's the elements of the interview. What are we really selling? What are we doing? And I built a model, and I just call it the I am, I do, I help. We're selling who we are, what we do, and how we can help others. And so how do we do that? How do we do that effectively in an interview? I see a lot of people talking about the I do. There's a little bit about I am sometimes, but I almost see nothing about how we can help them, which is the reason they're hiring us to begin with. So I offer this workshop. You have to be registered to attend. It's very informal. And the workshop part of it is that we talk and discuss about the types of responses, the options, depending on the question, who's asking you, where you are in the process. So you do get a video of your interview. They're relatively short, and we cover the 12 basic categories of questions inside of that. I also offer the one-way interview. We can schedule that for you. Right now it's set up to practice those 12 questions, but I can design it and set it up however you might like. I very strongly suggest that you practice that. We not only have to present ourselves, we not only have to have good content, we not only have to have energy and enthusiasm and interest, we have to look good on TV too. And so now how do we do that? So this is what we're all talking about in getting into the fundamentals of the interview. Look me up on LinkedIn under Walt Glass. The About section gives you the details and information. That QR code will start an email to me that you edit a little bit and then start you out saying, I'd like to find a time and register for the workshop. So if you want to send that out and do that now, be glad to get that email and get you scheduled. You know, this is a workshop where you don't have to sit there watching your life flash in front of your eyes, and you don't have to have the anxiety and the stress and all that goes with it. So while it's really about 60% learning and about 40% in the interview doing that, I call it learning without squirming. You've worked so hard on your resume, and now hopefully networking throughout the day. It's interviewing practice that paves the way. Register for the workshop. There is no pay.
Thank you very, very much, Walt. All right, another wonderful poem. Oh, do we know what number we're up to, like 130, 140?
Well, while Eldon was talking about his speak on what's going on in the job search world, I generated number 92.
92, all right.
That wasn't number 92.
All right, well, thank you very much. It's always great to hear a poem every Friday. All right, time to hear the career tip of the week. You can find it on the Career DFW or Career USA websites. A new tip every Saturday afternoon. Good morning, Rosanna.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. Well, the career tip of the week for this week, dated May the 8th of 2022, it's called The Truth About ATS Resume Keywords. And this is an article by Molly Povich. So robots are reading our resumes before they make it to human eyes. The question is, how do you make the keywords on your resume ATS compliant? What happens to your resume when you send it out into the ether? Apply basically for a job via portals like Indeed or LinkedIn. Likely it gets met by not human eyes, but by AI software known as ATS, Applicant Tracking Systems. 99% of Fortune 500 companies and 75% of the 760 US employers surveyed in a recent Harvard Business School report use ATS platforms to comb through the resumes of applicants and select who to interview. That same study asserts that these software programs are defective, barring more than 10 million workers from hiring decisions. And so if your resume isn't ATS compliant, it's not going to be flowing through, explains Kiran Pandey, who is the co-founder of Mock, an ATS-enabled startup. This means that if you don't create your resume in a particular way, it might get thrown out before you get a chance to showcase your desirability to the prospective employer. A frightening prospect. So how can you make your resume ATS compliant? The biggest factor is keywords. The software will search your resume for pertinent language the company has pre-programmed into the system, likely based on the job description. Some of the ATS systems only look for exact keyword matches and ignore synonyms, explained Pandey. You could have relevant skills, but just because you used a word that's not in the job description, suddenly your resume is in the no pile. The good news, you can get past the system with little foresight. The more information people have, the more sensitive they'll become to this. No matter how limited ATS software is, it's probably not going anywhere. We might not like the evolution of technology, but we should adapt to it. you still want the job. Here's how to calibrate your resume to beat the robots and get your resume into human hands. The do's and don'ts of getting past ATS software. So do optimize your resume for each role. Don't send out generic resumes for each job role. When you're writing a resume, you know it's a marketing document, and that would have you put your best foot forward. Sometimes it's not an enjoyable action for people because they don't like talking about themselves. But even though it's more effort, it's worth it to customize your resume for the job role you're applying to so that they can see your best, most relevant version of you. You're not doing it for someone else, but for yourself. Next, do utilize the job description. There are two kinds of candidates: the ones who spent time reading the job description and internalized it, and others who have merely seen the job title and think, just let me apply. If the keywords you need to match are pulled from the job description, you're going to want to be familiar with it and use the familiarity to your advantage. So analyze the job description and try to include similar languages in your resume. Highlight relevant skills, industry, and role-specific keywords, relevant certifications and tools, and etc. Next, don't overstuff keywords. Don't try to trick the system by mentioning all keywords in one place or entering the same keywords multiple times. Ask yourself, where are opportunities to include keywords, but also make sure you're not overusing keywords. That limits your opportunities to use other keywords that may be in the job description and can help put you through. Next, don't sacrifice ATS compliance for creativity. Sometimes people get creative with formatting their resumes to make them look more visibly appealing, and then they think they're great and push them everywhere, but they're not necessarily ATS compliant, so they get eliminated anyway. You want to do what works. You can express creativity in other ways. Do not use multiple column formats, tables, graphs, charts, images, non-traditional fonts, etc. on the template. Do not share the resume in JPEG or PNG formats. Next, do use a proper resume format. How should you structure your resume often varies based on your level of experience, and different industries have different norms on how they expect information to be presented to them. But in general, use a basic chronological resume template with standard headers like education, experience, skills, and technical skills. Keep the resume in doc or PDF format, and don't put any content or personal information on the headers or footers. ATS systems generally do not parse information placed in the header or footer. A pro tip: use both acronyms and spelled out forms of the keywords. Well, that was today's tip of the week for May the 8th. Enjoy a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Rosanna, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for reading this. All right, today, hopefully you'll join us for lunch at 12 o'clock. We're going to go to Dickey's Barbecue. If you live in Texas, you're required by Texas law to eat barbecue at least once a month. So hopefully you'll come join us today at Dickey's Barbecue, 12 o'clock noon, 4032 Preston Road, Plano, Texas. It's on Preston, north of Parker, south of Spring Creek. So please come join us today at 12 o'clock. All right, coming up in just a couple of moments, we'll hear from Mike and Pete about reference solutions, how to identify, how to research, how to target, or how to network into target companies. It's a great presentation. You're really going to enjoy it here in just a second. But I want to talk about some upcoming sessions. Next Friday, Jeff Crilley will be with us to talk about free publicity, sort of his story, how he used networking and how he put publicity out to get him to where he is today. And then in 2 weeks, Don Nabon will be with us to talk about personal branding. So that'll be another really good presentation coming up. And then the first Friday in June, we will have open forum. All right, well, I've known Mike and Pete for many, many years, and I mean, when Mike came up with this reference solution thing, and it used to be called Reference USA, it was like, you know, he said, somebody ought to do a presentation about this. And we said, well, great, Mike, thanks for volunteering. So Mike and Kip Lipson several years ago put together this presentation. It's a great information. Hopefully everybody here has gotten their library card. I've been promoting it all week. Be sure to go get your library card because you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to use this. So Mike, Pete, thank you for being with us, and I'll let you turn it over to you all and let you all tell us your story and everything.
You're on mute, Mike.
Now I should unmute, shouldn't I? Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. And good morning, everybody. We welcome you to our session, how to identify and research target companies utilizing reference solutions. My name is Mike Ray. I'm a Vice President and Director of Marketing and Product Management, Product Transformation, Customer Satisfaction, Company Results, Mike Ray. To give you a little bit about my background, during my career, I worked at Train, I worked at Lennox, and also worked at a small HVAC company in Oklahoma City. While I was at Train, I directed a product management and support team, which introduced 2 new product platforms and 1 major platform redesign, which doubled product revenue to well over $1.7 billion in less than 5 years. Again, my name is Mike Ray. Pete?
Good morning, everybody. It's actually people on this call I don't know, which is a rarity. I am a retired operations leader now, and I actually bounce around a lot of these different networks trying to help people any way I can. In my career, I spent almost 40 years in the property casualty insurance industry, both as an operations leader and an IT leader. So I worked, probably the last major operation was running a workers' comp division for an international insurer out of Sydney, Australia. So I've been a project manager in my past, and like I said, I've been a CIO for a small agency and done all kinds of stuff in my career. So, and now, you know, I hooked up with SFG and this whole network thing back in 2015. I found that it helped me tremendously to network into my next position. I was laid off again in 2017, and I knew at that point I was ready to retire, and this is what I wanted to do, is help others any way I could. So I encourage you to link in with me. If I can help you in any way, I can connect you with anybody or just give you some general advice, which sometimes it is good. Then please make sure if you connect with me, you send me a personal note, let me know how we met.
Great, thank you, Pete. Can everybody see the screen? Do we have the slide up? Just want to make sure.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, good deal. Just to give you an idea about this tool, at the end of the day, our objective is that you'll be able to identify target companies both by industry, by location, and also by company demographics. And this is a great tool to assist you in your job search. It's one that we've used for many years, and it has been very helpful. Somebody's dog's upset.
Sorry, that was mine. They were cheering you on, Mike.
And in addition, we also can use this to assist us with interviews, but by researching the companies and learning more about the companies, and also identifying people that we want to network within the company, so we can do informational interviews and learn more about the background of the company and determine if this is a company that you would like to work for. And so this tool will assist you with that process, and it will help you in developing your questions that you use in your regular interviews, as well as your informational interviews when you're networking in the company. As Jeff mentioned, this tool used to be called Reference USA. And we started out in the libraries, they may still reference or may call it Reference USA. But we started out utilizing this tool when it was called Reference USA. And then about 2 years ago, the company rebranded itself. They changed their overall company name, as well as this particular feature of Reference USA. They changed the name and it became Reference Solutions. And so as you're engaging with people about this tool, you may hear Reference USA be used, but the most recent name and the brand that they're using now is called Reference Solutions.
All right, just to let you all know, as professional as Mike Ray may sound, and myself included, we are not employed or compensated by Reference Solutions in any way. As Jeff was describing earlier, Mike and Ked came up with this on their own to help all of you and research your target companies. So just keep that in mind. Our opinions are ours and ours only.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, the Reference Solutions presentation will be posted out on Career DFW later on this week or early next week. And it's posted in the Career DFW under Resources in the Career Files. Chapter 5.3 is Databases. And so this presentation will be posted there, as well as Jeff is recording on Facebook and has in the Career DFW videos, we will have this presentation that you can follow, and it's posted for, I assume, for this date. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yes, that is correct. And it'll also be on the Career USA YouTube channel, and I'll put the link for that in the email I put out this afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Today's presentation, we're going to talk about the importance of having target companies. And we're going to show you this tool to identify that target companies and how to use the tool. And one of the things when you're using a new program, one of the things I always like to have is some of the best practices. What are the key things or the shortcuts that I could learn or I could highlight and focus on that's going to help me in utilizing this tool quicker, better, faster? So we're going to show you some of those best practices that we found in using the tool and go through some examples of how you can use this tool in your job search efforts. Then we're going to talk about research for networking and job interviews, and how you can dig in and where some of the information is located on the in the database. And we've got a live demonstration that we'll go through. So we've got the program, it's already up and running right now. And we'll give you the opportunity to see how to use the program and see how simple it is to take advantage of when you're going through your job search. One of the things I'll point out, we cover most of the functionality of Reference Solutions in our workshop today. If there is something that is unclear, please stop us immediately and say, would you repeat that, please? Or I didn't quite understand what you just said about this. If there's something that's unclear, ask. Otherwise, if you've got a question, and I've got a hard personality, I got it. Okay, let's move on. But let's keep going. Okay, does it do this? Does it do that? Well, there are some people that are going to be on the line today that are like that, and I understand that. But if you have a question, put it in the chat, and we're monitoring the chat as we go along. But we cover 99% of your questions, or we should cover 99% of your questions in our presentation today as we go through it. So if you would hold off on your questions unless we say something that's unclear. If you need us to run it back again, we'll be happy to do that. But if you've got a question, type it in the chat and we'll help you out as much as we can.
All right, so what is a target company? I mean, I'm assuming a lot of you know what that is. We're going to cover some of that for you today to help you identify what those target companies are. But a target company is, in essence, a company that you want to work for, either because it's in the same industry you just left, or because you want to navigate to a new industry going forward, or perhaps you worked for a behemoth like IBM in the past, and now you want to work for a mom and pop because you want to get more visibility in your career. Whatever that situation is, throughout your job search, you should be finding a target company. And the challenge will be, how do you find those companies? And that's what we're here to do for you. But a target company is, in essence, a company you'd like to work for, either because it's geographically close to you, or it embodies all the values that you have in helping the community or whatever it is, or the size of the company, whether that size, that number of employees, or revenue amount, whatever that case may be, you identify what those companies are, and they could be either here in DFW or anywhere in the country, especially now that a lot of these jobs are going remote. So that, in essence, is what a target company is, and now we're going to help you figure out how you ferret out those companies that are going to be a benefit to you. All right, so when I was in my job search, as I mentioned earlier, my experience is all in the property casualty insurance sector. So in essence, as you guys all been watching TV, you see those ads come up for insurance companies. Those are in essence my target companies. So companies like the Hartford Insurance, Travelers Insurance, even smaller, or not smaller, but different companies like Allstate or State Farm. Those were my target companies I would apply for, either in operations or IT, depending what I was looking for at the time. So those are mine. And Mike, you want to talk about yours?
And like Pete, I'm also retired, but when I was looking for opportunities, I looked at Ream HVAC because I was in the HVAC industry my entire career, so I had a good background in that. In addition, I also looked at Kubota Tractor, which is in Grapevine. They moved their headquarters over there from California to Grapevine, so I was interested in Kubota. And I was also interested in a small company called Campat Machine and Tool, which is over in Plano. And so those were three of my target companies that I did research on and looked for connections to network into those companies.
All right, so I think all of you here have been part of multiple networking groups. Obviously, you've been part of Jeff's here, and where you've introduced yourself multiple times. So you always start, with the obvious, your name. And by the way, that's the name you are known by, not your legal name or anything. And people are going, who's that? So your name, and then what you do, either using a title or whatever, operations leader or operations VP, whatever title it is that describes what you do. And then your value. And that value is your brand is, for instance, in my last job, I saved my company 35% in expenses, or I increased revenue by 79%. Ask me how. So that's your value. What do you bring to the table? And as Walt was saying earlier, how are you going to help that new employer meet their goals? So that's your value proposition. You should always include that in your introduction. And then always, always repeat your name at the end, because when you started talking, that person may only be casually listening or maybe, halfway interested. And all of a sudden you're going to mention what you do and what your value is, and they're going to want to talk to you. It's like, okay, who was that guy again? Oh yeah, Mike Ray. He repeated his name at the end again. So now he can look you up and reach out to you and connect with you. All right, so what are your target companies? Because typically what we call this in the networking groups is an elevator speech rather. Most people don't include target companies at the end of their speech. And granted, if you're in an elevator or something, maybe you don't, but if you're in a networking group like this and you want others to try to help you, because I can tell you right now, I've got a friend who's a biochemical engineer. How the heck do I help her? I have no idea. But if she tells me what her target companies are, Philips and stuff like that, or a major healthcare company, now I know I can try to help you because I may know somebody at one of those companies. So always make sure once you identify your target companies, you mention 2 or 3 of them as part of either what you put in the chat or just verbally when you're in a networking room, describing that to other people.
So you're more than welcome to, some of you are welcome to type in your target companies or a target company of yours. We'd like to hear from the audience. So feel free in the chat to go ahead and type in your target companies and we'll read them off. Audience participation at this point.
Yes, typing skills come in handy.
John Gorman said Progressive Insurance.
Thank you, John.
Mike Frank said Raytheon. Rodis Jones said Octopus Energy.
I'm always amazed at the variety of companies in this sector. Octopus Energy.
Okay, thank you for participating. We appreciate that. Michael Carver said Wells Fargo, USAA, and First United Bank. David Webb said Covetrus Veterinarian Supply.
Covetrus.
Okay. Okay, so just to let you know, there is a plethora of target companies that are out there, and with all these different companies that are out there, you think about it and said, okay, so how many target companies should I have? Since there are so many out there, how many should I focus on? Do I want to have 1, 3, 4, or 5? Or do I need more than that? Do I need 50 to 100 potential target companies? And how do I get from 1 to 5 to 50 to 100? So, that's a question we've got, and we've got to figure that out. As we looked at it, I was part of an accountability group, and one of the things that I was challenged with was, how can I help myself? And joining an accountability group helped me out quite a bit, because other people would give me ideas or share ideas and also hold me accountable. And so they came up with ideas on how you can help yourself. And one of the things that they kept asking at the accountability group, okay, what are your target companies? And one of the things that I saw was, or that I always offered up, was the last job that I applied for was my target company. So I saw something online and I said, okay, I'm going to fill out, I'll fill out the application, and that's going to be my target company. And I would repeat that to the accountability group. Well, they said, you really need to go to the library and learn about this tool. It's called, at the time it was called Reference USA. Go to the library, it's free. You can learn how to utilize the tool. The librarian will show you, and you can have a longer list of target companies that, rather than just the one that you applied for online. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. 10 minutes later, after I left the accountability group, I went back to doing things the way I normally did. And that went on for a couple weeks. The second week, I went through the same process. Hey, you need to go to the library. You need to figure this out. And as it was, 10 minutes after I left the group, I went back to doing things the way I always did. Got the same results too. So at the third week meeting, I was challenged again, said, why don't you go out and find your target companies? Go to the library. And at the time, I went with Kip Lipson. He and I both went to the library and asked the library, well, got our library cards first, and then asked the librarian to show us how to use the tool to identify target companies. So instead of being reactive and reacting to the job boards and saying, this is my target company because it has a job opening and I might be able to get in there, instead of reacting, I was being proactive by going to the library and researching these multiple target companies and finding the companies, a list of companies, and working with that. Pete, go ahead if you'd like.
All right. So now it's time for some decisions, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. Do you want to stay in the same industry, or do you want to bounce over to a new industry? So those are the decisions you have to make right now. And depends, you may have done some kind of work at your prior industry or work with a vendor or whatever, and it may lead you to a different industry now. So do you want a small, medium, or large company? And again, small, medium, and large can be measured by revenue, can be measured by number of people. It just depends on, what your perspective is, or maybe both. You want something that's small, both in size, in terms of people and revenue. So those are the things that this tool will help you with. And then do you want to stay at NDFW or potentially relocate? Because some of these companies you may have in mind may not have a presence here in DFW. Now, that's all changing every day, as you know, because of the hybrid work environment or even the remote work environment. But, are you willing to relocate? Some people will tell, like Mike went to Oklahoma City for a while and that worked out for him. And some people will tell you, well, my family is up in Chicago, so I'll look up there as well, because if something comes up there, I want to be up there, with them if I'm going to get a job. So you can just, any variety of information you can think of, this tool can help you with.
And as you look at the different sizes of company and make these decisions, one of the things that you may consider is, okay, if I work at a really large company, and a lot of us have worked at some very large companies, or Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 companies, and they were very specific with what they wanted you to do, whereas a small or medium-sized company might value you because of the fact that you've got a lot of different skills that you've gained over time. And so as we age a little bit here, as I start to lose my hair, the situation is that they may appreciate the fact, by working with a smaller company, you can utilize a lot of the different skills that you've learned over time, and they may value that more than a large company might. So you just got to make some decisions for yourself and figure out what's the next best step. Now, when you look at, there's a lot of different databases that are out there. And at most of the Texas libraries, there is reference solutions available through most of the local libraries. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. There's also, at a couple of the libraries in the state of Texas, there's a tool called A to Z. A to Z was developed by the former CEO of Reference USA, but they're not as spread out or as much in the state of Texas. Now, if you're outside the state of Texas, of course, Reference Solutions is available in a lot of different local libraries. I've gone out and checked quite a few places where Reference Solutions is available. The example being Atlanta, Minneapolis, and Charlotte, North Carolina, just to state a couple of the local libraries that I looked at. So Reference Solutions is available through most of the libraries. And then some of you that have been in the financial field may recognize D&B or Dun & Bradstreet or Hoover's. And I utilize that with my company to qualify my customers financially in sales. And we looked at their financial background. And it was easier in the financial arena, but as far as utilizing the tool and learning more about the company, Reference Solutions seemed to be a better tool to take advantage of. So we're going to emphasize Reference Solutions today. when you look at getting access to reference solutions, and this is mostly Texas centric, but getting your library card is free at most of your local libraries. In the state of Texas, all you need to have is your Texas driver's license or voter registration card or utility bill. In the case of Plano, Texas, which we're in North Dallas and Plano, in Plano, I'm a resident of Plano, so I can walk into the library and get my library card, and it doesn't cost anything. However, Plano would like to charge, if you're not in the, if you don't live in Plano, they'd like to charge you $50. What I found out was that if you would like access, if you live in the state of Texas and would like access for free, you can go online to the North Richland Hills Library and get your library card for free. All you have to do is give them an address in the state of Texas. They'll verify the address and they'll give you your library card for North Richland Hills. I did that because at times when we do presentations, Plano's system may go down. And rather than lose the opportunity to go through it and give examples of how to use the tool, I got my North Richland Hills library card. It took all of about 10 minutes to get it done online. And so I have a North Richland Hills library card as well as my Plano card. And key thing is it was free, it was online, and it didn't take very much time to get it. While I was online at North Richland Hills, the other thing I did was I asked the librarian online. There's a chat function that came up, and there's an online librarian right there to assist you. I typed in, I would like access to reference, and at this time I said reference solutions, and she came back and she said, "Oh, you mean Reference USA," which is the old name. And so she hadn't quite converted to the new terminology, but as it is, she gave me the URL on how to connect to the site, and I was able to sign on using my North Richland Hills library card. So let's go ahead and go over some examples on how to use the tool once you open it up and take a look. To start out with, when you open the tool up, this is what you're going to see. And the first thing that I want to point out is there are about 16, maybe 17 million verified files or companies in Reference Solutions. And there are 43 million unverified businesses out there. Now, when we focused on doing this, we focused on the verified businesses because Reference Solutions was able to go out and contact these businesses and get information and verify all the data that was out there. The 43 million companies that are out there, they may be viable. It may be perfect for you to take advantage of. But as it is, we emphasized and we focused on the 16 million companies that were verified by this tool. But you have that option to also utilize the 43 million unverified if you would like. In addition to that, when we looked at the files, the first thing we did is we clicked on US businesses. And when we opened up US, this is the file we worked with because that's the larger file. There are a few other files that are available. If you're in the medical field, there's a medical file that's there. And there's a few other smaller databases that actually came from this larger database here. And at this point, Pete, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you for the quick search discussion. Pete, you wanna tell them about this?
I can do that. All right, so as you get into the product itself, again, you're online, or you can be actually at the library, wherever you're doing it. You start by putting in the company name. Now, if you are really wanting to work at a specific location, like here in your North Dallas area, that also include your city and your state. So if we're going to use, and if you want additional filters and you want to, narrow it down like we talked about before by size of company and something like that, then we can also do that. But those additional filters, whether it's down here at the bottom or at the very top where it says additional or advanced search rather, both of those will lead you to the same screen, which you can filter further for what you're looking for. But you're probably most likely going to start by putting in the name of a company that you just came from or you have interest in. So you would just put in the company name and the city and do your search. So if you want to stay in the same company, for instance, and you're working for IBM, then you just put in IBM, and that'll give you information about all the different IBM locations and everything else. And again, if you want to narrow it down, just put in the city and stuff like that. But that's usually the best way to do it, is just put in your prior company and put in, as Mike indicated, view results. And that way you'll see what it comes back with, just with all the different IBM competitors and IBM people who do business with, all their vendors, anything associated in that field. So, but as you see now, we got 283 results. Probably a bit overwhelming at this point. We need to continue to try to narrow that down. But as you can see in the screen here, these are all the IBM locations, because we didn't specify where, we just said IBM. So you can see here, they're all over the country. So which may be something you're interested in, or maybe something where you're like, okay, I don't even know where this city is. I'm not going to go work there, or I have no desire to move to California, so forget Menlo Park. So all those things come into play now, so you start narrowing it down even further. So you can revise your search, as Mike has indicated here. And now we're going to start narrowing it down a little bit and seeing how we get those results down. So we start by saying, I want to stay and work here in Texas. What IBM locations are here in the state of Texas? So we start with that. And now you see that we've narrowed it down, and now we're down to 24 as opposed to 283. But you can also see that we're all over the state of Texas, all the way from El Paso, to Houston, to everywhere in this glorious state. So again, in my opinion, the commute to El Paso can be kind of long. So you may want to narrow that down even further, because you want to be in this area. And so now you can see not only that, but since I put in just IBM, any business with the letters I, B, and M in there are coming up. So you can see IBM where Mike is pointing, that's the actual IBM we're looking for, where we used to actually work. But you can also see above that we have other IBMs showing up that are not part of IBM Big Blue. They're just other businesses with I, B, and M in them. So you have to be very conscious of that when you do your search. But this is the one we were looking for. IBM, right here off of Stemmis, was what we used to be. So we want to start with that. So now notice that this little org chart looking thing here, that can indicate whether you can expand that, and it'll tell you who else is downstream from Kathy Gross, or you can also, depending on which way the arrow is going, it'll also tell you who's upstream or downstream from Kathy. So you can see more of the build out. So if you're looking for a particular person that you used to work for or work with, that can perhaps help you, depending on how up to date they've kept this, but it'll tell you can expand that org chart or company profile, if you will, either up or down, depending on which way the arrow is going. If you don't see an arrow, then we don't have that kind of information in the database.
And what this particular one will do is if you happen to see an up arrow, it's an indicator that this is a branch office or a district office or a regional office, and that the headquarters, it reports into a headquarters office. So if you happen to see the up arrow and it pointing up, it means that this office is either a district or a branch office or a regional office, and that the headquarters it reports into a headquarters office. If you happen to see a down arrow, the down arrow means that the office is the headquarters building.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so we've selected that particular IBM on Stemmons, and now we're starting to get some more information about that particular location, including the information you see on the left there, which is a quick list of things, and Mike has blown that up there on the screen. The location info, very important to us, the job listings. And by the way, the job listings at the bottom are coordinated with Indeed and Indeed only. So keep that in mind, because if the company you're looking for they're using Monster or they're using ZipRecruiter or some other, or LinkedIn, for instance, to post their jobs, they're not going to show up here. These are only Indeed jobs. So IBM's using Indeed, that's great. But if the company you're trying to research is using, posting their jobs only on LinkedIn or only on Monster, you may not see them. So just because you don't see the jobs there doesn't mean they don't have jobs open. They're just not listed with Indeed. So we have the location info, we have the job listings, we have a competitors report. And why is that important? Because those are the same types of companies as IBM. So if you wanted to work in that industry, then you want to do that. So you got the industry profile that'll tell you, because IBM's got tentacles in many businesses. So the industry profile will tell you everything they do. And then the competitors report, everybody else in the marketplace is doing similar or the same thing that IBM's doing. And now you're starting to build that list of target companies if you want to stay in that same industry or the same job function.
And early on, as we started using this tool, these 4 things were the major things we focused on initially. And then as we learned to use the tool, we started digging in more into the details of these other listings. But early on, these were the 4 things we focused on as we first started using the tool and became more comfortable with it.
So our wonderful competitors report, and again, this is a list of companies that are in the same market as IBM. And now we're starting to ferret out our list of target companies, because these are all the different companies that meet that same profile as IBM in terms of what it is you're looking for. So now you can look at this list and go, well, probably never heard of most of these companies. Well, that's great. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is identify companies you otherwise would never know about that may have opportunities exactly like the one you're seeking.
And unfortunately, with this tool, and were we employees of Reference Solutions, what we would do is we would right click and copy this entire section right here and paste it to an Excel spreadsheet. But Reference Solutions doesn't want to let you do that. So you've got to take a picture of this or print screen or something, and then post it to your Excel spreadsheet. And you can manually go back or put it into your list if you so desire. But our recommendation, if we were members of Reference Solutions, is allow us the ability to right click on this and take a look. In addition, as you're looking at the competitors' documents, if you come back to this page, you can always click on each one of these lines individually and look at the same type of information we've been looking at for IBM. If you double click on any of these lines, it will bring up the same basic information.
So now we happen to look at the actual profile, industry profile for this, and we can see that we're getting into some deep financial stuff here in terms of SIC code, Standard Industry Classification, and NAICS, North American Industry Classification System. SIG code is the older version of NAICS. So we talk about that in terms of, SIG was established back in 1930, but just about every company out there has either a SIG or NAICS code. And so if you want to work for IBM or a company like that, or used to work at IBM, find out what these codes are, because those are going to be very important. Make sure you write them down, because you'll be using those in your search. And then NAICS is a little bit more a deeper dive into the type of industry or classification, where SIG would tell you it's a retail store. Now NAICS will tell you it's a retail store selling cigars or CDs or whatever. So it'll be a lot more detailed, so you'll know more about that particular business. Okay, so make sure you write those down. In this particular case, during our search, those are the two codes you should be writing down if this is the industry you want to be in, because again, we'll be using those further on in our search to try to ferret out more of these kind of companies that we want to be associated with, or at least try to get an interview with. Okay, so now we're going to restart our search, having those two codes at hand, and we're going to start back with, using NAIC code, NAICS code 54151104, and we're going to go here to the highlight area that Mike's got that says we're going to do it based on keyword, meaning SIC or NAICS. So you want to see right above that we have keyed that code in there. And we're going to do our search now on the primary NAICS code. And once we've got that code in there, now we're going to go ahead and view our results for that code, and we're going to see what we get. So, but as you can imagine, putting in that code without putting any further filters, we're going to get back to getting hundreds of results. So we want to work in the Dallas area. So we want to make sure that we take off all the cities in this area that we want to be part of. So in this case, it's Dallas, and we've got that in there. So I'll start narrowing down our search. And then once we we select Dallas here, you're going to see it move over to that right-hand box. And now we know we've selected the city of Dallas along with that code. So now we've narrowed it down to any businesses that are in that same line of business in the city of Dallas. So now we'll view our results. And now you can see we have 21 results, narrowed down to that NAICS code and within the city of Dallas. So you can also see all these different businesses here. And as Mike was saying, unfortunately, we can't, download this to a spreadsheet or any kind of CSV file, but you can just start looking through all these businesses and seeing which ones actually may have openings or actually what type of business you want to go into or be part of, because some may be just as big as IBM, some may be very small. So depending on what your criteria is, you can start looking at some of these.
Now, in the case of looking at the competitors, you can't download that information. You can't right click and download. However, once you get to this page, there is the capability to download, and we'll show you that in a little bit. But you do have the ability to download from this page information, and so it's a little confusing. Why do they let me do why do they not let me do it on a competitor's page, but they do let me do it on this page?
So Mike, if I can act as an audience member for a second, do you know the distinction between competitors and this list, considering that they're basically all in the same NAICS classification?
Yeah, the competitors list had a couple of different cities in it, but it was very close to the IBM on Stemmons Freeway. So the competitors list had kind of gave a radius and may include a couple other cities. In this case, what we did is we filtered for the NAICS number and for Dallas only. So when we did Dallas only, all you get here is Dallas, Texas companies.
Got it. Thank you.
And so some of the people or some of the companies that are on the list that were on competitive lists for IBM are also on this list here as well. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So
we're going to focus, we start looking at this list, and all Mike has done there is highlight the top two there, Abacus Group and Amdocs. And as you look at these two particular companies, you see that, Abacus, we've crossed them out, and then we're going to use Amdocs as our example here to look further into what that particular company can do, or if it's something that fits our profile. So we select Amdocs, and you click on that, and lo and behold, you've got AmDocs information, tells you where they're located, and again, the jobs. In this particular case, we can see no job listings. Again, I'll reiterate, they may be using LinkedIn, maybe using Monster, maybe using, Career Builder, who knows what format they're using to post their jobs. So, just because it says no jobs listed doesn't mean AmDocs doesn't have any jobs available. So always make sure you follow up and go to their website or whatever, our LinkedIn profile, and see what they've got out there. But you can see more information about the company itself if you're interested as to where they are physically and all that. And you can see the description of everything that they do, including the fact that they're following the same SIG code and an NAICS code that we've been tracking in our search.
And of course, there's more information, but this is kind of gives you an idea that the same stuff we saw for IBM, you see right here for AmDocs. So it just follows this format and makes it real easy because there's that level of consistency you've got. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the best practices in your job search process. Obviously, when you take a look at the Dallas and the Fort Worth area, the hot industries, if you will, for Dallas: technology, financial services, and defense. According to this article, the hot industries were these three. And then in Fort Worth, it said oil and gas, manufacturing, aviation, and aeronautics. Oil and gas may not be as hot an area right now, but as it is, why not look in the areas if you're open to working in a hot industry? Why not look at a company who's growing or who is a hot industry at this point? And it may not matter. You may be in a position like, you may be IT. If you're in IT, it's likely, no matter what business you're in, you can always utilize IT services in whatever business you're in. So you may be agnostic as to it doesn't matter where I work, because you're still going to need to have your computer working and up and running. So we provide, or maybe I have that capability, and it doesn't matter what company I search for. So keep in mind that why not look at the hot industries or the companies that are hiring and focus on those. In addition, also the best places to work. There's a list in the business journals. Dallas has one, as well as I'm sure Fort Worth has the best places to work list, or maybe the Dallas is a combination of both. But I'd rather work at a place that's been identified as one of the best places to work than one of the worst places to work. So why not focus on, do some research and figure out those companies, or get a list of those companies that are the best places to work, and take a look at that and see if there's something there for you. And you can then do some research on those companies as well. Now, essentially what Reference Solutions is it's a filtering tool. It's a database, and as you utilize databases all the time. When you go out shopping on Amazon, you're utilizing a database. You make selections about what kinds of things you want to have, and that's all really Reference Solutions is as well. You're taking a list of all the companies that are available in the United States, and you're filtering down. Now, the items in red are the things that we found that we emphasized or we focused on as we started using the tool. Of course, the first thing is the company name. I filled out an application on LinkedIn for this particular company. I want to learn something about it. So I utilized the company name filter to learn more about that specific company. In addition, the business type. What type of business are they in? You can get their SIC or NAICS code, or you can type in a keyword, or go into your major industry group and build your own NAICS or SIC code. If you're in a nonprofit, If you're in a nonprofit, the business type, the keyword, you type in nonprofit. If you're interested in learning more about nonprofits in the area, type in the keyword nonprofit, and it will start showing you different choices for nonprofits. Again, geography. There were job openings that where I physically would have had to gone and driven an hour and a half to the job and an hour and a half back. There were opportunities presented to me. I would not prefer to drive an hour and a half to work and an hour and a half back. That's 3 hours out of every day, and that becomes a grind after a while. So why not find a company that perhaps is a little closer, or give consideration if necessary to relocating closer to where that company is. So your geography can play in there, and you can make decisions based on geography. In addition, business size. Again, as I said, as I started aging in the workforce, I started looking at opportunities and thought about it and said, a smaller company might appreciate the various different skills that I have because of the fact that, I've done quite a few different things. And rather than be focused in one specific area, perhaps they would like to take advantage of a few things that I'm capable of doing. So I'm a more valued employee. And so, you can choose either by the number of employees or the sales volume, and identify those companies based on that. And then ownership. Is it a public or a private company? If it's a public company, you're going to find more information, and it's going to be more accurate information than if it's a private company. Because if I'm a private company owner, I don't want to give my competitors information on my company. And I don't have to share my information on my company with anybody else, except the federal government. And I only have to, there's a huge range of parameters that I'm allowed to share that information when I do that. So recognize that if it's a public company, they're required to give more accurate information than a private company. In addition, ownership with an ownership, the company I worked for in Oklahoma City, they were the mother company or mother corporation was in Sweden. And so their culture is different than the American culture is. And so understanding when they come to visit, the kinds of things that they're going to ask you or expect of you might be a little different. Same thing was true if you're looking at like a Toyota or a Kubota. You've got to remember that the owner of the corporation, if they're out of the United States, may have a different culture, and you need to recognize and work within those parameters so you don't have any U.S. faux pas, if you will, as you're working with them. And that will help you whittle down your list down to a few numbers of your target companies. So if we were going to go in and take advantage of building an SIC code and utilizing the advanced tool, we would go in and we'd start out, and it shows 15 million here. I think the number is about 16.7 million now in the live program, but you'll notice it's over 15 million companies that are listed, and we're looking at the verified businesses only. Again, you're always welcome to include the unverified businesses, but their information may not be as accurate, or it may not be as up to date as the verified companies are. So we focused on the verified businesses, and there were over, like I said, over 15 million of those. Now let's start out with geography, because we obviously don't want to be looking in Alabama if we live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So let's focus on geography. And when we do that, we're working in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so let's click on metro area. When I do that, I bring in Texas for the state and Dallas-Fort Worth. As I click on Dallas-Fort Worth, it pops up in this screen right here. And then I update my count. And when I update the count, you'll notice it goes from 15 million down to 338,000. So there's a little over 338,000 businesses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that's all encompassing it in that geography. Then we can, then as we go from 338,000, let's do more filtering. So let's focus on our major industry group and focus on the services filter. Okay, the first thing I do is I click on major industry group, and then up pops this screen with a lot of different industries. And so, you know, there's a lot of things we could be looking at. We could be looking at construction, manufacturing, finance. We could look at services. So it all depends on what you're looking to do, and you have to make a decision. And you'll notice that there are plus signs beside each one of these. So you can dig in and get in deeper into the details of each one of these columns. If I was interested in agriculture, I would click on the plus sign for agriculture, and up would pop these choices. And I could choose one of these areas if I was in agriculture, but it gives you an idea of the various different numbers associated with the groups that are listed under agriculture. We're not focused on agriculture. We want to focus on services. So we're going to clear this and get into, okay, the job title I'm interested in today is Computer Integrated Systems Design. When I do that, I go into the business type and major industry group and click on the services tab, which is right here. And it's in the range of 70 to 89. Now, once I click on the plus sign for the services, by the way, I want to look at all the SIC codes, because services could be a side business of all of other primary groups, but I want to focus on all of the companies that have this services capability, and that could be focused on computer integrated systems design. So as I focus in, I update my count, and I come from 338,000. I update it to 150,000. So 338 down to 150,000. Now let's keep on going and looking deeper into the services, and I click on the plus sign for that services group. When I do that, up pops these choices. And as I look at that, I'm interested in the business services side of it, which is 73. So 73 is my first number that I'm going to be using as I build my SIC filter. Okay, and if I update my count, I'm now at a little over 20,000 businesses, and I want to keep working, and I want to dig in further into the business services because I'm interested in computers. So I'm going to hit the plus sign, and up will pop a couple of choices. And I'm interested in this computer integrated systems design. So now my SIC code, I've built it to 7373. And when I update my record count, update my count, I'm now at 616 businesses. Still too many to work with. So I want to hit the plus sign again, and I take it down to computer integrated systems design, 737398, which is this one right here. And I update my count, and I come up with 46 of those. That's a workable number of companies that I can research. And at that point, then I will select 2 or 3 that I'm going to research this week, or maybe this week and next week. But I won't start researching all 46 of those all at one time. I'll pick 2 or 3 off the list and start researching those particular companies. As I click on view results, up will pop the 46 results here. And here's a list of the 46 companies that have the SIC code of 737398. And I'm interested in getting that into an Excel spreadsheet so I can have a list to work off of. And so I'm looking here at the information, and I'm interested in downloading the information. So I click on download, and up will pop this screen, and it says download. So the first thing I want to do is select my file format. Now, if you're used to using comma delimited, they say this is most popular. I think it's most popular with data analysts or people that are used to using a lot of big data that are separated by commas. As I noticed, Jeff utilizes that in the chat. When you put your name in there for your the information that he's looking for, he asks for it to be separated by commas. Most people are more focused on Excel or Excel 2007 or 2010, and I am. So I would prefer to have it in a format that I can use it a little easier. And so the format I want to use is either Excel or Excel 2007, 2010. In addition, I then want to select the level of detail that I want. Most of us will want to use the summary detail. They'll want the top one on the list. The reason being is that's enough information just to look at it on an Excel spreadsheet. If I choose the detailed one right below it, that one will give you about 10,000 fields, and you'll get an Excel spreadsheet that goes from AA to 66ZZ or something. I mean, it is a huge Excel spreadsheet. And so would encourage you, if you're going to take advantage of it, go ahead and utilize the summary portion. As you get better using the tool, if you want to customize it to use what you want, you're more than welcome to do that. But I would recommend, and the thing that we found most useful is to utilize the summary version. When you click on that and download it, you'll get 17 columns of information, and that's enough information to utilize to focus on each individual company. So we've talked about the art of filtering as we go through, and the key things that we focused on were the company name, the business type, either the keyword SIC or NAICS, or you can build your own with a major industry group, like we just showed you. In addition, you can also go in for geography. Now, most of the time, you're probably not going to use, you may use county, but you're probably not going to use street address or neighborhood. This is a database where you can get mailing lists from as well. But as you're focused on job search, the major things that we emphasized was city, state, and metro area. And you could use zip codes if you wanted to. Radius, if you choose an area that's like, and this is one of the things that Kip always used to say. He said, if you choose a radius of 5 miles, you probably haven't been on the job market very long, because 5 miles is not very far away from the house. But you may choose that and you may get lucky. You never know. But as it is, the main things that we utilized was the city, state, and in the metro area. Of course, now, obviously, you want to select by your business size, the number of employees, or the sales volume. And you can choose either public, private. Again, public has more information. It's more accurate than the private company would be. headquarters or branch, and then foreign parent. All that has good information to assist you in understanding company culture and company locations. And that will give you the number of target companies that you're looking for, or assist you in finding the number of companies you're looking for. The key thing is, once you start playing with this and start using, if you don't get the answers you want or the number of companies that you're looking for, the thing that you want to look at is you can start over, clear the screen and start again, because it doesn't take but a few clicks to get you to a reasonable number of target companies. And so encourage you to play with it, take advantage of it, and have some fun with the tool. Now, we've talked about target companies and how to identify those target companies. Now, how about utilizing that to assist you with networking and interviewing research? You can use this tool. Once you identified your target companies, you can utilize this tool to help you network into those companies. You can find people's names and actually, in some cases, their phone numbers. Find out more critical information about what they're spending in marketing, or what they're sharing that they're spending in marketing. You can go out to the 10K report and get their strategy and pull up business questions or develop business questions that will talk about, or that will help you in your interviewing process. And also you can get a feel for their competition. Example being, okay, so if I was reaching out to a specific company, I might develop a question. I was doing some research and it showed that this company was one of your competitors. Do you see them as being one of your bigger competitors? And if so, why? You start developing some questions to ask people and to show that you've done your research about the company and that you're truly interested in learning more about their company and also their company culture. Now, if it's okay with you, we're going to go ahead and do a live examples of how to utilize this tool. All right, I'm going to stop. Let's see, I'm going to go to new share. Let's see. Hang on a second. I'm gonna go back to the open board here. It's loading right now. Okay, when I sign into, and it doesn't seem to be showing here. Can you see the? Can you see?
We can see Plano Public Library.
Okay, you can see the data access. This
Yes,
screen that says reference solutions.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. All right. All right, so after I've signed in and by the way, I carry my my Plano library card. I carry that with me wherever I go, so that if I need to have access, I have access. In addition, I also have my North Richland Hills number as well that I utilize when I need to sign on to Reference Solution. So I've gone ahead and used my library card to sign into the database. And the first thing that you may notice, and is this large enough for you to see? Is that better?
Better.
Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is there's 17 million verified and 54 million unverified businesses. And they say it's updated weekly. Well, the database is updated weekly, but they don't go out and touch every company out there. What they do is they have a customer service group that calls out and touches base with the companies in the database and verifies their information. And then once a week, they update the information from their customer service group and provide verified information then at that point. So you notice that there's about 17 million verified and 54 million unverified businesses there. The next thing we do is we go in and we take a look at the databases that are available. This is the large database, and this is the one that we utilize most of the time. There are, if you're in healthcare, there's the healthcare database that's down here. And there's also some other, if you're looking for internships, there are internships that are listed here as well. But most of the time when I go into the file, I utilize the large US businesses here. And I click on this one to take advantage of this tool. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you putting the boxes around it. That helps. All right, so as I click on that, it goes straight into our choices of either a quick search or an advanced search. And we're going to do the advanced search and get more in depth into the tool. So let's take a look at the advanced search. I double click on that and it will bring up the choices. Okay, if you look over here on the right-hand side, you'll notice there are 16.7 million companies that are verified here. And it's we've used the verified businesses section and only that. So we're focused on the companies that have been verified. And the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at finance or accounting in the general contracting industry. So I'm interested in that, and I want to learn some more about that. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to select the keyword SIC-NAICS. And you notice as I hit the check mark, it popped up on the screen, and I'm going to search the all SICs, and the keyword I'm going to use is general contractors. And when I hit search, up pops a list of a lot of different general contractors. I'm going to focus on just the top category of general contractors. And when I do this, what I'm going to do is I'll click on this and it will show up under selected. And then I'm going to update my count, and I go in here and it goes from 16.7 million down to 151,000 contractors in the United States. So we're going to focus on that, and I need to obviously narrow it down. I'm interested in the metropolitan area. So let's focus on the metro area, and I have to go down here because metro area has been added. I'm going to select Texas. When I do that, I'm also going to look at the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I click on that and it's going to pop in over here in this field. and up pops Dallas Fort Worth. Now I'm going to update my count, going from 151,000 down to 2,600. Okay. So I need to narrow it down a little bit more. How about we look at just the headquarters buildings, the contractors that have headquarters here in the DFW area. So I click on up here under ownership, I click on headquarter branch, and it's been added below. And I want to look at headquarters only. And I go in and update my count. Now I'm down to 7. That's a workable number. But if I wanted to really get down to it and take a look, why don't we take a look at only the public companies? Because we're going to get the best information on the public companies. So I click on public. When I do that, I come down here, only companies that are publicly owned. Click on that, update my count, and there's one company in the DFW that's a public company. So they're probably listed on New York Stock Exchange or something like that. Let's view the results and see what happens. This company, by the way, Primoris Services Corp. Up until this year, only one person had ever heard of this company before. Whenever we've done it, when we've done, over the 5 or 6 years, there's only one person that's ever heard of this. I did a presentation about 2 weeks ago, and there were 3 people that heard about it because they've seen their trucks driving around the area. So they're expanding, but they're a big company, and we saw this as a diamond in the rough. When I double click on this and open it, here's Primoris Services Corp. And you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, I've got all the quick links. If I minimize all, here's my list of quick links. If I want to look at something in particular real quick, I can get to it. If not, I can expand and take a look at each line individually. So here's a location of Primoris. And then if you take a look, here are the jobs that are open at Primoris right now, and how long ago that they put the particular positions out there. And this is according to Indeed. So if Indeed pulls in the information, it'll be listed here. If not, they may have it on LinkedIn or something else. And you'll notice this is a headquarters because it's got the down arrow on it. So it's headquarters only. Now, as I walk down, here's a list of the different SIC codes and the description of each of the SIC codes that this company does. But the primary thing that they do is general contractors. Okay, and here's the NAICS, and their primary, they say, is single family housing construction. And that's the 2 primaries for this company. As I go down a little bit further, you'll notice they say this is a holding company of one of various subsidiaries. And I look a little bit further down and I start coming in and taking a look. Their corporate sales volume is $2.9 billion. And I've never heard of the company before, but it's $2.9 billion. So it's a big company. It has 66 affiliated locations. And there are almost 11,000 total employees, but there's only 12 at the location that's at the headquarters. So they've got a lot of people out in the field. As I go down a little further, if I want to learn more about the company and I want to network into the company, I have the ability to take a look at the various different people in the company. If I wanted to reach out to the CEO and say, I'd really like to learn more about your company. Do you have a little bit of time to talk with me? I would reach out to Thomas E. McCormick, and I might do that on LinkedIn and say, do you have a few minutes where I could sit down and talk with you and do an informational interview? Or if I was in, as an example, let's see, if I was in finance and wanted to and wanted to learn more about the company, I might reach out to the senior VP controller, Travis Strickler here, and so on. As I go down here, here's the COO, and here's the person in charge of HR. So a good person to know and somebody to reach out to. Hey, I'd like to learn more about your company. You know, do you have a few minutes to talk to me about Primoris? And so that's a list of people that you could reach out to. And I would then use this to cross-reference and go out on LinkedIn and connect with these people and then ask about informational interviews. Information on their the stock exchange and Google Finance, you could take a look at and get more information about that. If you're going to if you're doing research on specifically on the company and you have an interview or an informational interview, go out to their 10K and read their strategy and develop some questions from that. But there's a lot of information here. And the thing that really, as we look at it, the thing that was really exciting was you take a look at the growth pattern of this company. Now, the last 2 years with COVID hasn't been as big, but their growth pattern in general, the trend is just, it's going up. And that's an important trend as you look at that. In addition, you also see that their employee trend has been going up as well. And when you look at what happened between 2017 and 2019, well, they may have acquired a few companies or a couple companies. And when that happened, they may have reduced the number of people that work for them and consolidated their IT department or their finance department and went in and said, okay, we already have these set up in our corporation. We don't need these particular people in the businesses we just own or we just purchased. So we've reduced or gone through a workforce reduction. And that's what might have happened here when they reduced the number of employees that they had. So things to look at. And then as I go down here a little further, I can take a look at competitors all in the Dallas area, you notice. And these are some of the competitors. And I would develop a couple questions about these competitors as well if I'm going to talk to somebody at Primoris and say, you know, I did some research on your company and noticed that Bentree General Contractor is stated as one of your competitors. How big a competitor are they, and do you see them as being a huge competitor of yours? So does it look pretty easy?
I think it's a fascinating program with so much information that you just you can get lost in this thing, but I think it'd be an interesting, it's a great way to find out information.
Okay, good. Well, one of the things that I would like to do now is take us back to this screen right here. Okay, good. Now for the summary. Pete, do you want to take over?
Yeah, we can do that. First of all, most important, it's free and it's easy to use. As Jeff's already mentioned, I mean, be ready. I mean, I would give yourself a couple hours because you can get some rabbit holes and start looking at companies and stuff like that. So, you know, if you've got 5 minutes of spare time, you think you want to do this, maybe you practice logging in and all that, but to really use the tool effectively, give yourself some time, some quiet time to go through it, whether you're doing it at home or venture out to your local library to do it there. In case you get stuck, you have a librarian there to help you. It's a great, great resource, the best resource for identifying your target companies based on your criteria. And all of us will have different criteria to do that. And, I was a geek. I'd have a spreadsheet, have all these companies, and all the columns I would have what was important to me: size of company, what they stood for, geographically where they were, and that kind of stuff. Did they have the kind of roles I was looking for locally, or, was I looking at potential relocation and all that before this hybrid and work at home stuff started? And then, as we mentioned, information and job interview research. It's a great tool to be able to say, I've never heard of this company. Go to LinkedIn, look up, maybe we have a connection there somewhere that we can hook you up with. And now you can have that cup of coffee or that quick and informational interview over Zoom with somebody and learn more about that company, because frankly, it could be a company you never even heard of. And now that informational interview can give you some background on not only a company itself, what they do they walk the talk, and all that stuff. And, is there something you really want to try to apply for the position there? So I would definitely encourage you to use this tool. It's probably the best tool you have in your toolbox as you go through your job search. So definitely make sure you get your library card and either do it via the comfort of your own home or venture out to the library and get working on it. And by the way, when we talk about making a list of 50 to 100, do it, because you're going to start doing research. You're going to find, oh my God, I don't want to work there. And you're going to be crossing those off immediately. And all of a sudden you're going to do that to 30, 40 companies and go, oh, okay, it wasn't that. I needed those 40 or 50 or 100 companies because I've crossed off so many of them already for whatever reason. So make sure you actually adhere to that and put them all out there, and always keeping track of all the interviews and people you talk to. And that spreadsheet, again, can be a great help in that, and making a note of, okay, I had an informational interview here, had an actual interview there, and keeping track of all that through your job search.
And one of the things that we do as we look at this tool, you don't want to be like me when I was with my accountability group and walk away 10 minutes from now and say, yep, I'm going to do this, and then go back to doing things the way you always used to. So our call to action is, number one, get your library card because it's free. You want to take advantage of that. Not only is Reference Solutions there's a lot of other tools that are available, but go ahead and get your library card and take advantage of the resources that are available at the library, because it's free. And it's something, I can use the tool now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from my house. I don't have to wait for library hours to take advantage of this tool. The next thing is, we encourage you to sign on to Reference Solutions, get into the tool and start playing with it and have some fun. And our goal now for next week is to identify 2 target companies that you found with Reference Solutions and share those at the next meeting. So at Jeff's next meeting, when he gives you your 30 seconds, we want you to type in your target companies that you found utilizing this tool. And you'll find that this tool is a great resource and a big service to you in identifying the target companies that you potentially could work for. Are there any questions that anybody has about the tool?
If you've got a question, you're welcome to unmute your mic and ask away. I know we've gone the full 2 hours today. I will be sure to put Mike and Pete's contact information in the email I send out this afternoon. So if you want to reach out to any of them because you do have questions, you'll be able to do that. As long as I have your contact information, as long as you put in the chat box, I know that you're here, I can do that. Any questions, anybody?
One question I have, I'm David from Atlanta. How do most libraries know this? Do they know it as Reference Solutions or Data Axle?
They would know it as Reference Solutions. And if they're not familiar with Reference Solutions, they may know it as Reference USA.
And if your library doesn't happen to have that particular thing, the other one is called A to Z, which operates almost identically to what you've seen here today. So, just go to your public library, get to the references. It'll be, when you go online, it'll be one of the reference databases, and you'll see, who knows, they could have Hoover's D&B on. I mean, you don't know what they have. They may have multiple ones on there. So, but usually they only have reference solution or A to Z in addition to some other databases.
As Mike mentioned earlier, most libraries right now, if you go online, you can start up a chat session and just chat with them and ask them, do you have it? Do you have reference solutions? If they say no, ask them, hey, do you know a local library around us that has one that I can possibly, use it through them? And those reference librarians, they're there to help. They'll be more than happy to tell you, hey, I don't have it in DeKalb County, but I do have it somewhere else. And, reach out to the main Atlanta library and they'll have it.
Right. Right.
I may have,
Yeah, go ahead.
I may have some information that may help there because, going back to the Reference USA, Mike, in our at McDonald accountability group meetings, Reference USA used to have a little section called a library locator. And I noticed you didn't mention that, and I see that it doesn't seem available in the reference solutions. So while you were presenting, I did a little search, and I found that if you really searched on Reference USA on a certain, a very definite website, and I can put that in the chat, I found a library locator, and it actually goes in, it says Reference USA in the web page, but it comes up with data Axle when it's displaying, and it says enter a zip code, but it says these libraries may not be using reference solutions, but it's the old Reference USA. So evidently they have still kept that database available so that you can put in a zip code and you can find libraries, and it gives the address and phone numbers of those libraries. So I'll if you like, I'll drop that into the chat.
Yes,
That'd be
please.
great.
That'd be great. Thank you, Walt.
Yeah, I would imagine any major library is going to have some source, one of these different sources that you can reach out to. So, just check. And like I said, if you can't, if your local public library doesn't have it, maybe one of the affiliate public libraries in your area can do that.
Yep, that'd be great.
All right. Well, Mike and Pete, thank you very much for your time. Great presentation today. We'll make sure it's here. We'll copy, and I'll let you know what the link is if you want to go back and watch the information today. Next Friday, our speaker is Jeff Crilley. He's the CEO of News Public Relations and Real News Studios. Fascinating story if you've never heard Jeff's story before, talking about free publicity. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the chat box, please do so I know how to reach out to you, and I can copy you on the information we're going to send out to everybody this afternoon. So if you can, please do that. We'd really appreciate it. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Next Tuesday, Ruth Lipscomb will be with us to talk about how to drive recruiters to your LinkedIn profile. Next Wednesday, hopefully we'll have a practice interview. If not, Mark McDonald will be very bored. He'll be sitting at home just sort of twiddling his thumbs, figuring out what to do with his life. So please, he desperately needs some people to interview. And then next Thursday, being the third Thursday of the month, we'll talk all about resumes. Andy Cook will be with us. If you don't know Andy Cook, she's on her LinkedIn profile. She's a crown straightener, as she calls herself. And she'll talk about what she likes on resumes and what you need to be doing. So this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. It'll get up on the YouTube channel later this afternoon. So it could be 4 or 5 o'clock before it's uploaded there. On the Career USA YouTube channel, just click on playlist. Every video that I upload goes into a playlist. And then down below, pick whichever playlist you want and click on view full playlist. And then up will come a list of all the different titles and topics that we've talked about. And remember, for the North Dallas group, most of our speakers start about 30 minutes into the video. Today, lunch, please come join us. If you live in Texas, you're required to have barbecue at least once a month. So come join us at Dickey's Barbecue on Preston Road, just north of Parker, south of Spring Creek. We'll see you there at 12 o'clock sharp. And for everybody else, have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great weekend. And it's going to be a hot one here in the Texas area. I don't know where you're going to be, but I'll be in my pool. So you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Mike and Pete, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.